to the NRW checkpoint. Did you miss us? I'm WebsterStyle, always joined by my man
Brian Sapph.
That's right, and we are back to talk about this week in gaming. And Brian, just as we said before, as we get to the end of February and especially starting into March next week, March is next week, that's ridiculous. There's going to be a lot of heavy hitter games coming out in the last, what is this, Q2? Yes, be Q2 of any given year is always one of the biggest times for gaming. And first up, I'll leave the first one up to you, Brian, because I know you're very much into this game.
Yeah, so Destiny 2, the Witch Queen, it is everybody should know what Destiny 2 is. It's a RPG shooter, like a open world kind of thing, massive multiplayer online. This particular, I guess, it's a DLC, so it's an expansion to the current Destiny 2 game. Just adding some cool new things in there, a brand new boss, some new dungeons to kind of crawl through with your team, and I guess they also tweaking the characters a bit, like because you could choose different classes in this game to like mold your characters. So I guess they added some new attacks and defenses to the characters as well. So it's going to be a pretty big DLC.
Okay. All right, cool. And just if you guys don't know, Destiny is free to play is it on Switch?
Yes. I don't know if it's on Switch. I don't think so. I don't think it has the power, or Switch has the power to run that.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. But
yeah, the base game is free to play. Destiny 2 is free to play, and then any expansion that comes out, it costs. So this one will probably be around $40. I'm thinking, because that's normally the price range between 20 and 40 for the DLC.
Right, so there you have it, Destiny 2, and I think we've talked about before, back when they were purchased by Bungie purchased by Sony. Right. Destiny game I never got into, but it always looks cool, and Bungie, regardless of who's there, has a very good pedigree in these sorts of games. So I am not someone who's dipped my toe into the Destiny world, but those that I do know that have played it really love it a lot. So if it's your Destiny head, this is definitely up your alley. Definitely. And if not, it's free to play, so why not give it a try? You're not going to lose anything. If you like it, then you can give them some money.
That's how I got into it. I found out it was free to play. Some of my friends had it or whatever, so I was like, sure, I'll give it a try. And then I really enjoyed it. So definitely recommend that free to play before you make any like major purchases.
Exactly. Next up on our list is we're getting a lot of JRPGs lately. This one is the first one for this week being released, at least major one being released, and that's Monark. And this is going to be on a PS4, 5, Switch, and PC. And this is a JRPG, and this is actually coming from some of the minds that have been behind the Persona and Shin Megami Tensei series over the past few years. So it's been very much anticipated within that world, especially given the pedigree of those games. So it's definitely one, if you're into JRPGs, just looking at the trailers and watching the trailer later, it definitely looks like something that'll, especially if you're a Persona and Shin Megami Tensei fan, it'll definitely look like it'll, check all those boxes for you.
Which, if you are a Persona fan, I believe 5 was the PlayStation game of February. So it might still be up to download. It might have been January, but one of these 2 months coming into 2020, they made Persona 5 free for PlayStation Plus members, and you get to have the whole game and play it. So that's just I don't know, for the Persona 5 people who want to get back into it before playing this.
Right. All right. So next up we have Soul Cresta, and this is on a PS4/5. It's on PS4. You play when you're 5. Switch and PC, and this is one of those classic style arcade spaceship shooters. I think some of the minds behind Platinum Games are behind it. So it's a spaceship shooter in the vein of like Galaga and Ikaruga and things of that nature. So not too much to go into. We're all familiar with those games. If you like them, you like them. If you don't, you don't.
True.
Pretty much like I say about it. We'll run through the next one really quickly. That's Edge of Eternity. It's coming out on Switch. We talked about on the last show that It was coming out on Switch 2 weeks later. It's now 2 weeks later, so it's now coming out on Switch. And due to my just travels and everything last week, I didn't get a chance to really check it out like I thought. I might try to check it out this week to really get my impressions on it in the near future. So that's that one. Next one is an adventure game called Martha is Dead, and that is on the PS5, 4, and all of the Xboxes
Such an
as well.
interesting title.
Yeah, I checked out the trailer for it earlier today, and it looks kind of like one of those first-person Myst type adventure games where you're solving puzzles and things of that nature. Just looking at the trailer, it looked really creepy, so I almost wondered if it was.
Yeah, Martha's Dead.
Yeah, exactly. Into that survival horror realm. But it looked interesting. Maybe not something that I would necessarily play, but it definitely looks like a very interesting game. If you're into that sort of genre, it looks like something that'll definitely be something to, I guess, wet your whistle, so to speak, for that sort of gameplay.
Definitely a Halloween release.
Just looking at the trailer, it definitely gives that vibe, which I was kind of surprised considering looking at the gameplay. I'm like, it has a real creepy vibe, and I'm not getting any horror or scares. But again, that was just the trailer. Maybe a lot more to the game than the trailer lets on.
Right.
All right. Next up is actually a game that's coming out on the Switch called Never Alone, which was released on many of the other platforms back in 2014 and 2015. And I'll speak on this one simply because I've played this game on the Xbox. It is you don't have many games that really focus on the stories of Native peoples. And in this game is actually, and I forget the name, I think it's the Inuit tribe or peoples in Alaska. And this is in conjunction with them, and it retells one of their classic tales. And I'm not even trying to butcher the name of the classic tale, but I've played this. They gave it away on Xbox Live Gold maybe 2-3 years ago. So I've played it extensively. I've never beaten the game, but it is a fun game. I definitely think if you're a Switch owner, it's definitely a game that will translate very well to the handheld. And you're basically this little girl, and you're running through this obviously cold, icy Arctic world. And
is her name Martha? Is that
no,
Martha?
not Martha. But it's a little action game. It's platforming, a little puzzle solving, a little mix of everything. And it's on a handheld. I think it'll translate really well. So if you're a Switch owner, just for my own personal experience, I think you will really enjoy playing this game on your Switch on the go. It really translates well to that.
Okay.
Next up is our second RPG on the list, and that is Atelier Sophie 2, The Alchemist of the Mysterious Dream. This is on PS4/5, Switch, and PC. And I feel like in some of my reading, this may be on the Vita as well. I'm not entirely sure about that.
On the what?
And this is an RPG. It's apparently a sequel. It's from Kimi Tecmo. They seem to be pushing out a lot of RPGs lately. In the past couple of years, and I go back to that Vita because I know they pumped out a lot of RPGs for the Vita, and I know that you still have some developers that are supporting it. So I feel like I saw in some of the literature I read about it that it was coming out for the Vita as well. Don't hold me to that though if you're a Vita owner. Do your own research. I'm not entirely sure, but I feel like I saw that somewhere. And it looks like there are other RPGs that they put. Nothing wrong is it, but it has that same sort of art style. For me, even going back to Monark, I feel like a lot of those JRPGs are really taking hold of that manga sort of or anime art style, and they're all becoming very cookie cutter to me. There's no, visually speaking, as someone who's not deep in the world of JRPGs like that, they all starting to look the same.
Yeah, it's very niche. Like you have to be, well, you don't have to be, but it definitely lends more to like manga readers and anime watchers, like, which makes sense because I like anime. So those are games that I tend to like gravitate towards whenever they release. But I could see how somebody who's not into it could just be like, they all look the same. Yeah, because they
Yeah,
kind of do. But some of them, I think what it relies on, especially with like Japanese culture, is the storytelling. So they might look the same, but the story will be different,
right,
just with a few tropes. But you know what I'm saying, like different
right.
stories down the line.
I guess that's no different than a generation or two ago. Every RPG tried to look like Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
So it's not that much different, but I just feel like again, especially with anime being so pervasive nowadays compared to when I got into anime, which is 3+ decades ago. Now it's everybody knows what anime looks like, so I understand them all having that sort of design, but it's one of those things where you have as a developer, like, okay, this sells, but how do I make my game stand out?
Right.
One of the things, and not to get far down this rabbit hole, one of the things with the, I say PS3 and 360 era specifically, a lot of those RPGs stand out because they looked different.
Right.
Even though they may have played the same, they really stood out. Even going to the PS2 era, I think PS2 era, you had a lot more JRPGs in general being released. But that 360 PS3 era, I really feel like there was a lot of risks that were taken with what a JRPG looked like. And then obviously the Western RPG kind of just came in and just stomped all over them as far as sales and mass appeal. But I feel like now with this last generation comes this new generation, you even look at was it Scarlet Nexus or whatever it's called, that still is different, but it still looks very similar to what we're seeing coming up for all these companies. So I hope as this generation really matures and evolves, that many of these developers really start to take risk as far as their designs, as far as JRPGs is concerned. Not everybody is going to look like anime, and not everybody needs to. And you have like things like Octopath Traveler and things like that have come out, and I'm not going to take any shine away from those. But when I see this list by itself, these two JRPGs come out the same day, look very similar. Then you look at Persona 5, Shinigami Tensei. Like everything looks similar, not the same, but similar. And that's I hope that changes, especially with the sort of growth in independent gaming and sort of risks. And we talked about it before. The independent gamers are really taking with game design to stand out. These larger publishers really need to look at what they're doing. These independent game publishers are doing, and developers, and really take hold of that. Because I think that, I forget who next is coming out from, not next is Monark, but I know it's a larger publisher. And again, Altair Sophie is coming out with Kemi Tecmo. They are not, Tecmo's a name we've known, since before you were born. They've been around in the gaming world for a very long time. So it's one of those things that, hey, we want some different things, and we're getting a lot of that. And I love JRPGs. It's just, as me as a fan, it's like, they all look the same, like really, and that's a problem.
I think I agree with you. What you're saying. They're gonna have to, some smaller studios and like indie, publishers or whatever, they're gonna have to get bigger. It's pretty much what it is, because like Persona was done by the same guy, so this is pretty much his art style. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you feel, I don't know, if you look at it, he's just putting out more of his games and they dominating the market.
Right.
So it'll just have to be some smaller guys, or just like you said, some other bigger publishers take a step back, go a different direction, and make it work. Because that's pretty much what happened with RPGs when JRPGs were big, and then America came out with its own style and took over the market. So
Mass Effect came, Skyrim, Morrowind, all of those, like what's
these
a JRPG?
games that are very much inspired by JRPGs, but have their own different flair to them.
Right. Exactly. We can go down this rabbit hole for a while. Now, next up is probably, arguably, the biggest release this week. And if you know, those that know will understand, like Brian and producer Kuya P will understand. Elden Ring is probably a game I have to buy physically, even though it's not a game that I would normally play. I have to buy it because, if you know what I mean. Like, just because. Those that know, you're probably laughing. But Elden Ring is the biggest release this week by far. PS4, 5, all the Xboxes, and the PC, and is a grand collaboration between From Software, so the Dark Souls guys, and J.R.R. Martin, who did Game of Thrones. And it is very much an action game. It's Dark Souls-esque, but apparently, I don't know if it's as hard, but from some of the things I've heard about it leading up to the release, it is much more inviting to newer players like myself.
That's what it's looking like.
Much more emphasis on using magic. So some of that gameplay, and we're looking at gameplay trail a little bit later with that. So I'm definitely interested. I'm not really big into those action games. A lot of the reasons because everybody's trying to be Dark Souls.
Right.
I'm not trying to sit there and die all the time. Call me a weak gamer. I love enjoying games and playing through games for the story.
Yeah.
And give me some level of difficulty. That's one of the reasons I love Halo so much, because I'm not a big FPS fan, but I am heavily invested in Halo's story. I like playing through a narrative, and it's one of the things, we talked before about the PlayStation. They're very much the quote unquote kings of that third person narrative driven story.
Right.
New Horizon game came out on our week off, and people have been talking about that. I've been catching up on a lot since I was gone last week. I have a whole lot of YouTube videos to watch and reviews to watch, but I've heard pretty much good things. But we talked about that, so I love that aspect of just playing through a story. So with Elden Ring, and especially with the pedigree of George R.R. Martin and his storytelling, I'm looking forward to sitting down with that game eventually and really playing through to really understand and digest the lore of that world and get a good story. So I'm looking forward to it. How about you?
Yeah, I think, because I don't know, I seen a little bit of the trailer. I didn't want to spoil myself. I know you about to watch it, and I was like, okay, Elden Rings, and I've been hearing about it in the PlayStation, my little community of friends or whatever. So I'm like, I might get this a try. I like games like that as well, like you said. I necessarily don't care for super difficult games either, but being that I am like an RPG player, I know any game like that, they're gonna have the difficulty modes. So I put it on normal. If I can't beat it with normal, then we'll go down to easy just to get so I can get the story. Like I'm really into stories and stuff like that. So I might check it out. I'm interested in it at least.
Yeah, I think that's one of those games that I think that a lot of people who aren't normally into those games will definitely get interested just because of the George R.R. Martin name. And that's really, even with me, I've never watched Game of Thrones, but I've heard such great things about it.
It's a fantastic series.
I've heard there's so many things that the last few years of my life, I'm backlogged on a lot of TV.
Yeah,
that's one of those shows I just never got into, never had the chance to. I'm sure I'll watch it eventually, but I understand the books are very good. People love the show. So that right there is like, okay, I would want to play this game just to see what sort of the world is created and what sort of story is told.
And so I think that's a good reason. I was just gonna say, like, don't necessarily hold your breath too tight, because they fumbled a little bit on season 6, the final season of Game of Thrones.
That's HBO though.
A lot of controversy.
That's HBO. That wasn't, because remember, he's not even finished all the books yet.
Oh, right. That's true. So
that's right. They did it. So yeah, I don't blame him. I blame HBO for everything I heard about that.
I can agree with that.
So, and last on our list is Grid Legends, and that's on the PS5, for all the Xboxes and PC. And that's a racing game. That's a classic series from Codemasters, which was purchased by EA a couple of years ago, and a lot of that Formula One. And I also think a rally racing's in there as well. It looks good. We're going to be looking at that later. But this is one of those games, I feel like this is more of especially Codemasters, which was formerly Infogrames way back in the day, is a European development. I know that racing scene is very big in Europe. So I'm assuming it'll do a lot better there. It's just, this game comes out at the worst time. Well, maybe the best time, but the worst time, because we just had Forza Horizon 5, and then Gran Turismo comes out next month.
Wow.
You know, you're probably bookended between the two
heavy hitters.
where you have two of the biggest racing games of the year come out, and then
Right.
here you are, which the game looks phenomenal, but unless you're, and in my opinion, a diehard fan of the series, especially with the gluttony of other racing games out there, what is there for you, or why would you pick this one up, or compared to waiting for Gran Turismo? Was it 7, 8, whichever one it is, the new
Whatever
Gran
number.
Turismo game? I'll play that one. Or you know, hopping on and playing Forza Horizon 5. They're in a perfect spot to try to get some money, but then a horrible spot because there's so much competition out there.
Right.
Out there now, and it's coming.
I think that might be the goal. This is looking at, because the racing genre as a whole is not like super huge. You know what I'm saying? Like there's only a few games in that space that's like the games. So I figure, you know, everybody likes playing, you know, Gran Turismo and people like Dirt and stuff like there's games that people really enjoy in the racing series. I feel like they trying to shoot their shot at being one of the top.
Right.
And like you said, European centered. So they might be looking to just have a game that competes with those two heavy hitters that came out before and that's going to come out after, but just, you know, lean towards a different demographic. Because, you know, you play a game for a certain amount of time and it starts to become repetitive to you, you start to get used to it. When something else comes along and tries to challenge that, you're going to at least, you know what I'm saying, look into it like, oh, okay, so there's another shooting game out that's comparable to Call of Duty. Let me play it. And then you might end up liking it. So I think that's what they're trying to do. I think they're trying to build off the hype that these two massive games have built around it and just, you know, slide their little card into the table to see if people take hold of it. That's just what it looked like to me from a consumer standpoint.
Well, that makes sense. The sad thing about that is EA is really dropping the ball when it comes to marketing. Like I've heard of the Grid series. I've seen nothing about this game till I looked up the list today. Nothing.
Okay.
Absolutely. I've seen, and again, I spend most of my time on YouTube. I've seen no advertisements, no nothing. And I see a plethora of game advertisements during the course of my YouTube watching. I've seen nothing on Grid, and I will be a very much a target audience considering the things that I watch on YouTube. And so that right there tells me that EA is not putting a lot of marketing dollars behind this to reach those people that will possibly be interested.
Which they should be able to do that, given how big Apex is. They're bringing a lot of money in over there with that game. So they should have plenty of funds to promote another game. Maybe they doing a European targeting like you were saying.
Exactly. I was about to say that. If anybody watching this is in Europe, let us know if you've seen ads for Grid Legends. Legends or Grid Legends, because maybe just, and again, not saying people here aren't into Formula One and that sort of thing, but I've always seen Formula One is very much in Grand Prix racing, very much a European sort of appeal. And again, maybe that's where it's marketed.
That's probably it.
So, you know, here it's, you think car racing, you think NASCAR. You don't think, what is it? Not the Daytona 500. What's the, I forget the
Indy 500, all that stuff.
Thank you. Yes, Indy 500. That's what it is. Al Unser Jr. You know, that's a long time ago. When I was a kid, that's when I knew about Formula One and those sort of races. Now, I couldn't tell you. And again, I'm not indicative of the average American in that regard, but I'm pretty sure I'm not too far off from the average American in their knowledge of that sort of aspect of racing.
Yeah, and then I just feel like, Europe people, let us know. Are y'all
right?
Because if you think about it, FIFA was kind of like this in the beginning as well. Like you didn't really hear much about it in the States or whatever. They marketed more towards, you know, where soccer is, and then because soccer is still a thing here, it kind of picked up, and then they started promoting. But they really only give that kind of promotion to like FIFA and stuff to the Europeans. Like I don't think American player has ever got on a cover of FIFA. Like, I have no idea. I don't know, but Yeah, could just be a regional thing. Either way, it's on our radar now
Right, exactly.
because of stuff like this. It's trying to compete with the other two big ones out. So we'll
Yeah,
see what
this is
happens.
one I probably wouldn't buy, but considering it's published by EA, it'll probably end up on
I was about to
EA Plus
say,
or whatever it is, EA Play eventually. And when that happens, I will definitely check it out.
yeah.
Right. So that's all of the new releases. I can't believe it was only that few. I think what was missing last week, especially with the new
Yeah.
Horizon game, was probably a rainstorm of new releases last week. So I'm glad I wasn't here for that one. It would have been a long episode. But
I think everybody's playing Horizon and Dying
yeah.
Light right at the moment. Those are
Yeah,
the
that's what I see too online. See a lot of reviews, a lot of comments, a lot of gameplay footage of Horizon. So I'm pretty sure most of my PS heads are really involved in that game right now. But let's look at some trailers. We're gonna first up start with the trailer for Monarch. Let's check out this RPG.
Seeing as you already know, there's no point in hiding things any further. Powers from the other world are against the natural order. Continued usage of them will cause our world to distort. The mist, the barrier around the academy, the calls from the other world, all are byproducts of the Pact Bearer's authority.
She's what we call unsettled. The mist messes with their heads, so there's no way to know how they'll behave.
Instead,
Did you brainwash him?
we are living in unprecedented times. I speak not only of the barrier around the academy, nor the madness-inducing mist. Homicidal maniacs, epidemics, spontaneous combustion. Further outlandish incidents plague the other buildings. I know you are all concerned about this inscrutable, hopeless situation, but worry not. So long as you remain here, so long as you follow me, Kurama Hitotsubashi, you shall all be safe. This I swear on my life. I ask for your continued support. Heed my words. Let us band together. We will make it out alive.
Follow your ego. Control the madness.
It looks like it'll be fun, but it doesn't look that impressive.
Yeah.
For even a PS4 game, and again, no disrespect to the developers, that's definitely something that could easily run on the Switch, which I believe is out for the Switch as well. I'm looking at the background textures of the school building, like it's not that detailed. And again, graphics on everything. But I'm looking at a game like that, and then we'll look at even looking at Elden Ring or Grid a little bit later. You're looking at something that's developed for those systems, and graphics on anything, but I expect a certain level of graphical fidelity. Yeah. I don't see that there, and
that's because they made it
to a degree it's off-putting. So that's even in my mind. I'm like, I really need to find out whether or not this is out for Vita, because it basically it looks like it can run on a Vita. Again, no disrespect to developers, and maybe that's the way they designed it, but it looked very bare bones for what they were trying to do. Even the character models, they were still that anime-ish, but they weren't that detailed or articulated. It's compared to other games that are out there were developed exclusively for, say, the PS4 and the Vita. I mean, going back a couple years ago, just look at Dragon Quest, or was it 11 or whatever it was, and how detailed that game is, and how good it looked, particularly on the Switch, and it looked good obviously on PS4 and Xbox One. But that's a game that clearly has a lot of detail and richness to it. Unless not even talk about the last Final Fantasy, but then you go to something like Monarch, which is for me very much aping that sort of Persona Shinigami Tensei, but even those games are a lot more detailed, at least from what we see from this trailer, compared to Monarch.
Yeah, this I feel like because the thing with like Japanese developers, right? They make their game, especially in this kind of genre, they tend to make their games like is acceptable for the standards of the least powerful console, and then just port it to everything else. So this looked like something that should be on the Switch, probably because it was built for the Switch, and it was like, we do have the ability to sell this to other people that don't have Switch, that are a part of the JRPG community or whatever. So let's port it up to the big consoles and leave it at that. I don't think that's the best idea because the Switch can do a little bit more than these kind of graphics. Like we see Breath of the Wild and how fantastic that game looks. There's more that can be done, but I don't. The model of a developer is one that I would like to understand, because I would make different game choices if it was me. But
right, I agree. I always go to this. The fact that Obsidian and company were able to get Outer Worlds onto the Switch, and no, it ain't the perfect game, but visually speaking, it looks doggone good on the Switch. And you compare that to this game, there's no comparison.
I don't know. And then I also, for some reason, this is making me feel like they just like to keep with the nostalgia of the genre. Like, I don't know, because mangas don't vary that much either. I don't read a lot of manga, but the ones I have picked up here and there, they don't range that different either as far as art style is concerned. So I don't expect the games to, but I would like for the games to, because you just mentioned some great ones. Final Fantasy looks amazing. The remake, like that shit is fire. So
again, that's PS4 exclusive. That was original on the PS4. Reality it does, and then again, no disrespect, and maybe the art style is what you're looking for, but this is what we see from this developer on a PS4 5 exclusive. Even though you got on the Switch, still, I see some graphical upgrades for the PS4 version. I mean, it's the norm now in the game industry, so I don't like it. Yeah. All right. Next up is another multi-platformer. No Switch this time, but the beast of this week, Elden Ring.
See, Bandai, they gonna give you a game. Bandai.
Yeah.
Let's see.
The Tarnished.
That's what we need to get bought next.
They say it looks great.
Grace.
I mean, even though this is, CG, it still looks great and it looks different.
Right.
The Golden Order is broken to its core.
See, this kind of stuff is why I like RPGs so much. Like, don't put me in New York and have me run around shooting people. Take me somewhere I ain't never been. Like,
Exactly.
I want to get lost in the game.
Foul tarnished. In search of the Elden Ring. Emboldened by the flame of ambition. Someone must extinguish thy flame.
They will fight. And they will die.
Games have this combat system like this.
In an unending curse. For how else is a champion or a lord to be born?
Well, a lowly tarnished, playing as a lord. I command thee now.
Elden Ring. For all of us.
I'm saying
Right.
it looks great.
It does.
We knew that. I think for me, and this is like a thing I have, I love it when they like these and thous. It's one of the reasons I love Shakespeare so much. I just love the language and how people talk to each other. It's so not so proper, but they use their words really to illustrate every single thing and emotion. And I love that. And the fact that these characters in that sort of world where they're speaking to each other, you just hear the emotion that their voice actors are putting into something that's like, like thou and thee. And it's like, it's love that. And to couple that with the visuals of the game, I'm assuming since this is from the official PS PlayStation, it's probably running PS5 footage, I assume, but it still looks great. I'm looking forward to seeing firsthand what the gameplay is like. It looks very Dark Souls-ish, which, saying who developed it, I imagine that. But again, based on everything we heard with that, heavy inclusion of magic and utilization of that, and also I believe it's supposed to gameplay-wise in battles a bit more quicker than Dark Souls and Demon Souls and those games. I'm looking forward to playing it.
Yeah, it looked good. The trailer just kind of locked me in. I'm sitting over here thinking like, damn, do I want to get the Horizon game for this? I'm gonna have to get both. This one, I don't know. I like I said when we was watching the trailer, I like when these games take you somewhere that looks like completely dead. That's one of the things that locked me into the God of War series. Like everywhere looked like somewhere I've never been before. I'm not well traveled, but I'm saying it don't look like a regular city street. It's just in this complete fantasy world. And I like when these kind of games come out and they build like that kind of, I don't know, world, I guess, to give to people. I don't know. I'm interested. I'm saying all I have to say. I'm interested.
I think you're absolutely right. And that is one of the beauties of gaming, especially in how we've, not saying the PS2, but there's something that happened with that PS3, 360 era and GameCube era, where that the technical capabilities really were able to create this expansive and immersive games and new game worlds. And I think that you look at going back to say, even Fallout or again, not necessarily harping on Bethesda, but Fallout, the Elder Scrolls series, those are games that really take you to new worlds. Ghost of Tsushima, those aren't like anything else. It's like everybody is copying off of them. They're the originators to some extent. Obviously, everybody takes inspiration from everything else, but really transporting players to new worlds is really what makes gaming amazing. And Elden Ring looks like it's one of the newest games that's going to take us somewhere totally different than we've ever been before. And I just living up to the hype. I just hope it delivers on that aspect. Game capably, so. But you give me a good story, you give me a good world to explore. I can overlook some of those things.
Yeah, and I think it will. This kind of game, this is another reason why I want to play it, just to see if it's going to franchise out and be something bigger. So I don't know. I think we are. This is going to be the introduction to, like I said, another God of War kind of franchise or something that continues to build. So for that, I'm interested in playing it. It has all the elements I normally look for. The dragon was cool.
Who doesn't love dragons?
Yeah, any game with dragons in it is pretty good. It's probably gonna be fire. So might as well check that out. I think I'm gonna have to put that on my buy list. Go ahead, download it, get it played, see what it's talking about, because I don't know. I don't want to miss out on this story that look like it's about to tell. I'm interested. This trailer is good. How about that? Trailer is good.
Exactly. So next up in last of our trailers is Grid Legends. I mean, it looks good.
Yeah. They don't care if we play this though. This is for this is for Europe.
Okay, let's get this started.
Here we go.
I'm Nathan McCain, 5-time Grid Series world champion, soon to be 6 times. That's a new record.
My name is Yume Tanaka. My goal is to become the first woman ever to win the championship.
Less than 24 hours now before the final race takes place right here on this track.
When the team want to get their hands on that trophy, they got to get through me.
They'll look the same rear-beating mirror.
So it's
Are
time for us
these
to
real
deliver.
people in the real world?
Okay, so they're building a story in the world. I like
That's
that.
what I'm saying. Like, is this real or are these characters for the game?
I believe they're characters.
Okay. Oh yeah, this. Okay. See, look, fake San Francisco is only U.S. city outside.
I don't know, guys. Like, that's impressive, but in part of like, I expect that nowadays.
Yeah.
Especially considering what Forza Horizon 5 has done in multiplayer.
Mhm.
It looks good. I could say Grid E looks like, you know, it will be the number 3 racing game for the year.
Yeah.
No disrespect. I don't see it eclipsing Gran Turismo or Forza Horizon 5, period. That's,
Yeah.
I mean,
I was
but it
about to
looks
say
good.
this game, it has a fan base and a player base. We just not privy to it.
Yeah.
Like I could tell just by looking at it. Like there's people that love this game. I just don't know them.
Right, yeah, and I forget, and I don't remember. I don't think it was called Grid before. I think it transitioned to be called Grid. So, but I say that to say this is a series that's been around, if I remember correctly, for a long time. So it's not like, hey, it's just some series that's popped up. It's been around for various generations of gaming. So I feel like probably go back all the way to the Dreamcast. Maybe I'm thinking more so of Dirt. But I mean, 'cause that's also from Codemasters as well. Because I know Infogrames, they put a lot of stuff out on the Dreamcast. And I feel like around that era, they really started to come to their own. And I think I believe they bought the Atari license at that time as well. So they were putting out a lot of stuff. So gaming changes all the time. But I know a company and developer, even though they're owned by EA, that's been doing racing games for a very long time. So they do have a pretty good pedigree. They're not some fly-by-night developer who just say, hey, we want to do a racing game and got some money behind it. This is what we did. Like they have a pedigree. So I don't doubt that it's going to be a good racing experience. If you're into that. If you're not a fan, I just wonder how well they're going to compete overall versus the juggernauts of Forza and Gran Turismo. That's my only question. Again, it looks good. And if you go on your PlayStation Marketplace, I go on my Xbox Marketplace, there are a ton of racing games there.
They are.
Absolute ton of racing games. So there is a lot of choice in. I feel like the racing genre, it can be somewhat hard from outside looking in, hard to stand out. So I wish them much success because it looks like a really good game, and especially if the cinematic story that is told in the feature trailer translates into the game. I think that'll be a really unique aspect of the game that you're not going to really you don't get with Forza Horizon 5 because it's not like that, and you may not get with Gran Turismo, whatever number we're on.
And see, that's what I think they're going for, right? Because I'm looking at this trailer and I'm like, oh, this has got a little story at the beginning. Is this real? Like, who are these people or whatever? But see, I'm thinking like that because that's how like RPGs and battle royales tend to be. Like, you get a character, whatever, they can do some cool things, whatever, but they have lore and backstory. So I'm like, okay, I never really seen that in a game. Midnight Club didn't do it. Like, Forza, like none of those like Formula One or like street racing games do that. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is their thing. Like, they're trying to build something where it's could be like, oh, okay, you can play this with your friends, and then you know, a month or two they'll add a new character with a storyline or put in some kind of thing that can make your car go fast. I don't know, but on top of that, or on the side of that anyway, it also looks like it's geared towards entry level like racers or whatever, because Forza and Gran Turismo, they are not easy to like get into as far as controller wise. Like,
I will say this, and again, I can't speak on Gran Turismo because I haven't played Gran Turismo any of
Gran
them since.
Turismo, you need a car to do Gran Turismo.
Yes, too, and I didn't like it then.
Uh-huh.
As someone who's not a big racing person, Forza Horizon 5 and even the last Forza Horizon 6 are very easy to jump into.
Okay.
And that surprised me specifically about the last Forza Motorsport 6. I was really surprised at when I played it, and I played as a tractor trailer at one point, semi racing as well. It was very easy to jump into, and I was very surprised, especially considering some of the experiences I've had with previous Forza Motorsports prior to 6. I think I'd paid 4 before that. Same thing with Forza Horizon. I think I played Forza Horizon 3 and 4, and I like those, but they didn't grab me like Forza Horizon 5. So I think, and again, speaking from my experience, I think that those games are a lot more accessible now than they were previous generations, and I'm hoping Gran Turismo has the same sort of. I think the newer consoles make it easier. They're getting better with the controls. They're refining things. So I hope that Grid takes a lot of that as well and really makes it easy enough for anybody to get in and play, but also more customizable, more nuanced for those players that are really into the nuts and bolts of these sort of racing games.
Yeah, and I think that's what this game trying to do.
Right.
It's based off that character introduction that they had at the beginning.
Right.
I think they're gonna push for customization being a big thing with them, because even the cars, like if you notice, like none of those cars are like exactly the same. They have some kind of detail differences or whatever. But then, like I said, I was mentioning the ease of it because it looked like all I have to do is hold X or the trigger button or whatever just to drive this car. It don't look like I really have to do any gear shifting or anything, which can be a hold up when it comes to, you know, more advanced racing games. So I don't know. I don't know. I haven't played a good race. Well, I haven't had any racing games in the recent like past that I've like been into. I think the last time I played was like Need for Speed Heat. That's been forever ago. But I don't know if this is gonna be one of them racing games where it's like really big multiplayer and customization and doing things that other characters or players can't do. Like, I think this will be a good way to get into racing as a whole.
No, I agree. It's like a good entry into racing, but you know, we'll see. I'll definitely say if it ever comes on EA Play, I'll check it out. But also, I'll probably watch some reviews on it as well, just to get some of the professionals on this game going forward. So that's it for our trailers. Brian, what do you have coming up this week?
Just more of the Talk and Play blerdcast. I'm gonna see if I do it right this time. Boom, on the right side. I'm here with it. And that's pretty much it. I'm gonna be playing Horizon, but I'm gonna go with Zero Dawn first. I never played it, so I'm gonna get Zero Dawn first. Check that out. There's an Overwatch event going on this week, so I'm gonna be trying to win some skins and things. Apex season 12 is, you know, kicked off great. I like the new characters, so I'm playing that a lot. And then I feel like I got an RPG I need to beat. I think the Guardians of the Galaxy game, I'm gonna finish that because I'll take a break from it, but it's a great game, so I want to finish the story.
Got you. Got you. That sounds great. Now, for me, I have no idea. I'm still on vacation mode. I'm not playing anything, but I will say I dropped a mini-sode last week talking about my reactions to Jurassic Park Dominion and also my fragrance of the week, which was Royal Lime by Royal Bermuda. Very citrusy, bright, aromatic, very good for your vacationing in the tropics. Hint, hint. This week it'll be another mini-sode, and I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. In preparation, I'm preparing for the recording and execution of episode 100, which will be dropping. And this is episode 100 of this Atelier podcast, which will be dropping on next week. So probably like a week after this ever drops.
And congratulations on that 100 episodes. Wow.
And a grind. Don't congratulate me yet. I haven't recorded.
You're right.
So thank you. And this has been another episode of the NRW Checkpoint. Thank you for watching, listening, sharing your hour with us. We have been WebsterStyle and Brian Sapph. And of course, this is Nerds Rule the World. Find us on Twitter at the NRW. Find us on Instagram at New Release Wednesday. And of course, if you like what you see, like, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell. Again, thank you for joining.